All right, we are live and we have a Bitcoin breakout. Believe it or not, we've broken out of this range that we've been in since the 23rd of May. We see we've just had that breakout. And the truth is, we actually called this breakout yesterday. And I believe that this breakout is actually going to continue. In the show, I'm going to show you exactly why this breakout is actually going to continue. And this is not one of these fake outs that's actually happening out there. And then I want to talk to you about another breakout that's happening, and that's Circle. Just look at Circle. So Circle, of course, listed on the stock exchange a few days ago. It's now up another 25% on the day today, which means that the market cap of Circle is now $25 billion because everybody is trying to get exposure to stablecoins. And today I'm going to show you a way where you can actually get exposure to stablecoins. And believe it or not, the stablecoins that you're going to get exposure to is not actually Circle, not actually USDC, but actually you can get exposure to USDT, which is, I would say, which has been like the ultimate thing for crypto investors. We all want to somehow get invested in USDT. Today I'm going to show you that USDT is launching its own blockchain, and actually you can potentially get involved in this blockchain that USDT is actually launching. So today we'll talk about the Bitcoin pump, and we'll talk about why it's going to continue, and we'll talk about Circle and the launch of their brand new chain. So if that sounds good to you, you can see I'm coming to you live from Hungary with this emergency show. If you appreciate that, what I need you to do is obliterate the like button. I need you to subscribe to the channel, and let's get the show on the road, guys. All right, as you can see, I'm back. I'm not in the studio. I'm actually in 𝗙𝗡𝗙 studio right here. And I'm covering today all the big stories that are happening. There's a lot actually happening. I wasn't actually going to bring you a show today, but on a day like this, where the markets look like that, there's absolutely no ways that I can not do a show, specifically when we have some kind of breakout or some huge breakout, which is where you can see Bitcoin's actually broken out of this downtrend that it's been in since the 22nd of May. And this breakout actually looks super promising. One of the things that I saw that may be causing the breakout, if you're looking for news, I'm going to quickly just call it up for us over here, is that the trade talks between the US and China have actually started. So if you're looking for news to justify why the charts are breaking out, it could be because of these trade talks that are happening with China. But as I said, the truth is we did actually call this, and it wasn't actually us that called this breakout yesterday. We also had Crypto, who looked at the weekly close for Bitcoin, and he said it was an inverse empire close. And he said that if the weekly close land up the way that the weekly close actually looked, he said if we closed like this, it was bullish, and then bang, we actually did close like that, and he confirmed it was bullish. We also confirmed it was bullish. I also saw 𝗙𝗘𝗔𝗧. Now, 𝗙𝗘𝗔𝗧 is one of those guys who really knows how to call the charts. He is a very good chartist. And he said Bitcoin printed a 3 inside up off the 100K level. Most people are too bearish at the moment. This usually leads to a pump of between 8 and 10% the week or two after this approximately, which actually means that this is the pump that we're actually running. Bro, I see we have someone walking in here.
I'm watching your show here. I just see that you're in the studio, and I was like, what's happening?
Hello, brother.
How's it going, people?
Hello.
Finally, you have a great, decent background.
Wait, let me get rid of the screen here so we can actually see you. Hold on a second. Let's just go to there we go. You guys can now see.
I was laying in bed after the wedding, and I'm just watching Ran on the show, and it's like, what's happening? And I just see this beautiful background, and it kind of looks familiar. So I thought I'm just going to jump in here.
Now you're finally married.
So happy you're here.
It's so good to be here, bro.
Keep doing the alpha.
So good to be here.
I'm gonna post a picture of how you ruined the entire studio here.
𝗙𝗙𝗙 is married. Everyone says congrats. Everyone's saying congrats. People are saying congrats, 𝗙𝗙𝗙. Wow, you've taken over the whole chat here. Anyway, now that 𝗙𝗙𝗙 has finished destroying the alpha of the show, we'll get back into the alpha of the show. So as I was saying, we called it, Crypto called it, 𝗙𝗘𝗔𝗧 actually called it. 𝗙𝗘𝗙 basically has the same thesis that I have. And that thesis is that people are too bearish at the moment. And this usually leads to an 8 to 10% in the next week or two. So I would imagine if we can easily get to 115, 120K, 115, I would say. 120K is going to be quite a push in the next week or two, if everything continues the way that it's going. So yeah, you can see that that's happening. Let's look at the altcoins quickly, because there's a lot of stuff actually happening in the altcoins. The first thing, there's a big move on 𝗙. I think of this week, we're actually going to do a show on 𝗙 and the subnets and why it's actually working. But believe it or not, the family offices and the institutions, instead of allocating to Solana and ETH, they're actually starting to allocate to AI. And the crypto proxy AI is now actually becoming 𝗙, believe it or not. People are also buying ICP. That's because ICP had a conference last week. They had their like mini DevCon last week, and that's why ICP actually going. SPX just continues its crazy run. 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗥 is 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗥. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗥 always rises. 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗥 is going to carry on rising. I want to look a little bit at the next 100 because there was actually a big move yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw there was a big move yesterday of 𝗙𝗘. Again, 𝗙𝗘 went. It's back at now back at 142, but it went up to 170 now. The reason why I'm so bullish on 𝗙𝗘, and I did speak to you guys about 𝗙𝗘 last week, and I told you guys that I think that 𝗙𝗘 is going to be absolutely amazing. But if you look at 𝗙𝗘, this is a call that was actually called in Frontrunners. I mean, this is the actual research paper that was dropped in Frontrunners. This call was made in Frontrunners by a researcher, Naz, at a $5 million market cap. I kid you not. It was, yeah, this is the research. Shoma, I know that this is new to you, but bro, this is called in Frontrunners, $5 million market cap. The proof is right here. Okay. Now you look at it today, $1.5 billion. How many X's is that? Let's say, no, fully diluted valuation, let's say 14 million. That's 100X. 100X in this market. Can you believe 100X in this market? Insane. And can you believe that despite that, some people still aren't in Frontrunners? It baffles the mind. It actually baffles my mind that some people still aren't in Frontrunners. Guys, I'm leaving a link below for the last time. Use the link below. Sign up for 30 days. If you don't like it after 30 days, leave, take your money back and leave. But I promise you that the calls that are happening in Frontrunners, you're crazy to absolutely miss them. Let's do a little bit more altcoin degening before we get into the meats and potatoes of the show, because you know we haven't been able to altcoin degen for such a long time that when we do actually get an opportunity to altcoin degen, we must degen. So let's see what else we can degen with. There's a base narrative forming. You can see Morpho starting to form. Aerodrome's going to start moving at some point. As I said to you, there's 𝗙, which we'll do a show about this week. One of our potential new researchers on the research call today actually spoke about 𝗙. And I think we said we are going to do a show sometime this week on 𝗙. Virtual starting to move. What's happening here? Just so you understand why virtual is moving and why some of the base narratives are actually starting to move. You see 𝗙𝗘. 𝗙𝗘's token is actually on base, right? It's until their mainnet launches, the token's actually on base. And so when we get a spike in 𝗙𝗘 and there's a wealth creation effect, then what happens is they take that wealth creation effect and they move the wealth creation effect and they move their money into other plays on the network. And that's really what's happening there. We also have quite a big week this week, guys. Don't forget, big week this week. Why do I say a big week this week? So let's look at all the things that are actually happening this week. Number one. Okay, Fefe says I must read his message. Tell him I don't have. Okay, can we have? What does he want me to do?
I'm not sure, but he told me that.
I don't know. Okay, yeah, I'll have a look at it later. Anyway, tell Fefe this is a high alpha show. We can't keep having interruptions, bro. We can't keep having interruptions. Okay, hold on. Let's just have a look. So we have a big week this week. We have the CPI data on Wednesday. And on top of that, we have PPI data on Thursday. And then we have the 10-year note auction on Wednesday. This 10-year note auction, I know it's like something quite small, and we're not really paying attention to a 10-year note auction. But remember what happened last time? Last time there were no buyers for the 10-year treasury yield or for the 20-year treasury yield or whatever they were auctioning. So we actually have to, this time we actually have to watch this auction. We do have to watch this auction this time. It's not one of those small auctions. Someone here says, bought in May, never going away. Exactly. This year we said there's going to be no sell in May. They said there's going to be no sell in May. Yeah, later on this week, a 𝗙 show coming up, a base show coming up. There's going to be a lot of good shows coming up this week. I'm warning you now. Then I'm also going to talk this week about the thing that's going to end the cycle. The thing that's going to end the cycle. Which I mean, we'll talk about that when it's worth the thing. Someone says 𝗙 is the new Bitcoin. Second opportunity in your presence. Okay, so researchers, you heard that about 𝗙, and you've also got a new researcher who can help you with this. So let's build a show. Researchers, you know what to do. The people are asking, give the people what they want. So we have PPI data. We have the China trade talks in London happening with the United States and China, which is good. You remember that Trump had a meeting or phone call with President Xi. I wonder, did Trump actually land up having that phone call with Elon? Because they said they were going to have a phone call. Then they said there was no phone call. And then we saw that Trump and Elon both started to delete the nasty tweets. Feels quite strange that they didn't have a phone call. Now, what I imagine actually happened is maybe the two of them never had a phone call. But maybe Trump's aides, no, I didn't say Trump has aides, I said Trump's aides, his people around him, actually went to and created a phone call with Elon, or had a phone call with Elon, and they basically said, look guys, you know, like this nastiness is not doing the American people any favors. What I need you to do, I need you to stop, I need you to remove the bad tweets. Trump, you also need to remove the bad tweets. Everybody just does what they're supposed to do, remove the bad tweets. Let's quickly look at Tesla, because there is like, what would happen to Tesla? What happens to Tesla? Let's have a look here. Random man, shout out the Banter fam. So Tesla slightly down on the day. Okay, so I think the market's starting to price in this Elon Trump thing slightly down. The market's starting to basically say, look, this feud of Elon and Tesla is not very big. The one thing that is happening now is that you got the Los Angeles riots, which is like now where Trump's attention is. They're into this like Los Angeles riots. So that's basically what it is. Now, right now, as we stand today, it looks like there's a 99% chance of no rate cut. People, I mean, who's talking about a 0.1% chance of a rate increase? Shuma, was that you, bro? Did you vote that there might be a rate increase?
Of course.
Insane. Anyway, so there's probably not going to be a rate cut on the 18th of June when the Fed actually meet. But let's see what happens with the inflation numbers. Remember that this week we do have inflation numbers. CPI is always a big thing. Some not fake, because Musk is pissed because Trump spending defeats the purpose of Doge. Yes, but I also listened to Cathie Wood from ARK speaking this week, and she says something very, very clever, right? Her view is that Trump and Elon, so Trump lost a lot of the blue party, the blue buyers, the Tesla buyers, because he was too aligned to the Republican Party. And so he needed to kind of like unalign himself from the Republican Party. And what's the best way to unalign yourself from the Republican Party? Is to have a public spat with Trump. Look, there is a way that actually could be what actually happened. But I mean, just think about it like this. He would then be isolated from the red party and the blue party, because he's already pissed off the blue party. And now, you know, he'd piss off the red party. So yeah, I think we just need to pay attention to what's happening, especially for those of you like me who are Tesla holders. I'm a holder of Tesla. And I'm so worried that Trump's going to do something out of spite. And he's going to, like, you know, put like restrictions on robo taxis or restrictions on Optimus robots or whatever else. Anyway, let's look at another thing that is absolutely blowing the lights out, and that's Circle. Holy moly, up another 20% today. I want to just remind you like what the Circle story was. The Circle story was that they went to the market to do an IPO at a valuation of $6 billion, right? That is what the Circle story was. They wanted to go to the market. They wanted to do an IPO at a valuation of $6 billion. While they were negotiating this IPO at $6 billion, what they landed up doing was they landed up negotiating with Ripple and with Circle to actually buy them. While they were negotiating for the buying, they still proceeded with the IPO. Anyway, the IPO lands up happening. They raised the money at $6 billion. And today we are on a thing where you've had two massive days. And now they're trading at a $25 billion market cap. That is absolutely insane. The reason why that's happening is a very simple reason, right? The reason why that's happening is because people want exposure to stablecoins. And right now, Circle is really the only way to get mass exposure to stablecoins. And you're not actually only getting exposure to stablecoins, you're getting exposure to the most regulated stablecoin company in the world, and probably in the United States. And I agreed and I still agree with Chamat that if you managed to get your hands onto Circle at anything under 10 billion, and you didn't get that chance in the listing, but if you got some in the IPO, I think it's a fantastic hold for the next 10 years, 20 years. Why? Because everybody wants to get into stablecoins. Stablecoins is one of the biggest use cases in crypto, but it's not actually limited to be a crypto thing. There's a reason why I'm talking about stablecoins today, Because up until now, we've all said we love stablecoins. We love the stablecoin narrative, but there's no way for us to invest in stablecoins, right? But actually, there is a way for you to invest in stablecoins, and you can actually invest in Tether with Tether. And I want to show you exactly what that opportunity is, because you might actually still be able to get into it. Everybody else. So I mean, you look at Circle. Circle IPO almost $100 per share implies 120x EBITDA, which is a multiple which is pretty insane. Why? Why is it so insane? The reason why it is so insane is because there is no other way to get real exposure into stablecoins. Now, to show you how important stablecoins are, if you look at this thing over here, this middle section over here, if you look at since 2021 and you look at all blockchain transactions since 2021, this middle section over here is stablecoin transactions. This here is altcoin transactions. The yellow is ETH transactions, and the orange is Bitcoin transactions. So what you can see is that by country mile, in fact, you could almost say that stablecoins transactions account for over 50% of all blockchain use cases since the inception of, or since the recent blockchain use cases. I won't say since the inception, because in the inception it was only Bitcoin. But stablecoin transactions pretty much account for over 50% of all blockchain transactions. And it actually gets like way bigger than that. Everybody wants a piece of this. Visa wants a piece of this. MasterCard wants a piece of this. And the reason why they want a piece of this is because they know that stablecoins aren't only about transactions over the blockchain. Yes, of course, on the one hand, stablecoins are about transactions over the blockchain. But on the other hand, stablecoins are actually a matter of national security for the United States. Because if the United States wants the US dollar to remain the dominant currency, the world reserve currency, then the United States has to make sure that the currency of the blockchain, which is the new internet, which is how we're all going to transfer value very soon, is actually United States dollar. And so the United States has realized this. And by virtue of the United States actually realizing this, and you can see David Sachs has realized this.
Stablecoins really have the potential to ensure American dollar dominance internationally, to increase the usage of the U.S. dollar digitally as the world's reserve currency, and in the process create potentially trillions of dollars of demand for U.S. treasuries, which could lower long-term interest rates.
So you can see that he's actually clicked that if the United States, if the US dollar becomes the stable coin of the blockchain, not only is it going to be a transactional mechanism, but it's also going to be a methodology for people to actually land up buying US treasuries. Why? Because you're going to hold the USDT or the USDC with Circle or with Tether. And then what's going to happen is they're going to invest it. And a lot of those investments are in US commercial paper, which means that they create a new buyer for US commercial paper. So the US gets it. And it's not actually only him. Scott Bessent also said that, you know, you can listen to.
If really we went big into stablecoin in this country, what effect could that have on the strength of the dollar? Because people might have to hold dollars in order to match against it, or even for treasuries.
Well, we are going big on digital assets. So Trump administration has made digital assets a priority. Past administration starred and almost made extinct a lot of these companies and pushed it offshore. So what we want to do is apply the highest U.S. regulatory and AML standards to digital assets, especially stable coins. And I've seen estimates that just over the short term, stable coins could create $2 trillion of demand for U.S. treasuries and treasury bills. To put that in context, the number is probably about $300 billion right now.
So you can see it's all about stablecoins and how strategic stablecoins are actually for the United States. As I said to you, the one part of stablecoins is creating this digital dollar that's going to be used. And you can see that in places like Bolivia. Paulo Arduino actually mentioned, he says, things are actually denominated now in stablecoins. Like, look at this. You can see like a chocolate share is denominated USDT 10. In other words, they're actually pricing their products in USDT. Now, and that's in Bolivia, by the way. And so I think that this is quite a big thing, because I think that USDT is actually becoming, or stablecoins are actually becoming a currency in itself, right? So like the actual stablecoin is becoming its own currency, separate to the US dollar. And so like the big narrative, probably the biggest narrative in crypto right now, is very, very, very much stablecoins. If you look at what Cathie Wood's predicting, they're predicting that the total stablecoin market cap could reach $1.4 trillion by 2030. Now, let's just quickly look at right now. The total stablecoin market cap is $250 million. So they're talking about a 7x or 6.5x growth by 2030. They are more conservative than Standard Chartered. So Standard Chartered says 2 trillion by end of 2028. Either way, whether you believe Cathie Wood or whether you believe Standard Chartered, what we do know is that the one killer application that the blockchain has actually created is actually stablecoin. And up until now, there's been like really no way to invest in stablecoins. Today, you do have a couple of options. The one option that you have is to go now to your interactive broker apps or to markets.com or to wherever you buy your shares, your actual equities. Or you can actually go to Bybit. You know, Bybit actually are starting to do equity trading. I think that's live. Researchers, just let me know in the chat if the Bybit thing is live. I'm not sure if it's already live. Someone let me know. I'm watching the other screen, and they'll let us know if why does Fefe look like Rand today? Fefe's lost weight. He's much better looking now. He looks amazing. Eh? He looks amazing. For a change. Okay, so up until now, no real way to invest in stablecoins. Last week, Circle launches. You can invest in Circle at a $23.75 billion valuation. If you go and do that now. Someone says Fefe is so loud. Guys, how is the sound today? Because I am actually using Fefe Studio. And you know, like Fefe buys the cheap mics and he buys the cheap lights. So, you know, like we have to use his studio. So it's, you know, it's just the way that it actually is. All right. So there's been no way to invest. The only way to invest is you can invest in proxies. You can invest in Athena. You can invest in things like Curve. Someone says sound is bad. Is it too loud? Is it too soft? Help me understand here. Help me understand what you guys need. Did you hear that? When I tapped them up? It's fine. It sounds good. Okay, amazing. You tell Fefe to buy a real mic instead of buying the cheap mic. Tell him you could have paid an extra $50. He would have got the best mic. And instead, he went and bought the cheap mic. Someone said, worse sound. Fefe's accent has changed. He's also much better looking. No, man. Pay the money. All right, let's carry on. So now there is actually another way to invest in stablecoins, and that's what I want to show you. And this time the investment is actually not in USDC, which you can see is the small brother here, but it's actually in USDT, which is actually the big brother. So we know that there's been a race between USDT and USDC. First, USDT launched. USDT was the OG. It was the original stablecoin. It was created by a bunch of real Bitcoin OGs. People like Reeve Collins was part of it, and the old owners of Bitfinex were actually a big part of it. And they created the real original stablecoin. But that original stablecoin actually had some baggage behind it. Because it was the original stablecoin, they took a whole lot more chances. There wasn't any stablecoin regulation. They were the first ones in the market. And they took a lot more chances, and they grew. And then later on, we got USDC, which launched. And so USDT got a massive head start on USDC. And you can see that right now, the rate of growth, if you just look at this, the green one here is obviously USDC, and the blue USDT, and the blue one is obviously USDC, right? And so you can see both of them are growing. And it looks to me like USDT is actually growing much faster than USDC. So that's number one and number two in the race. And the big question now is that if USDC launches and USDC has their financials are nowhere near as profitable as the USDT financials, and they have a market cap of $25 billion. Now, a lot of people are asking, and I was also one of the people that was actually asking this weekend of, well, if USDC is worth $30 billion, then what is Tether worth? Because Tether actually makes a lot of money, which USDC is not making. And one of the reasons why USDC is not making this is because they actually have a license agreement with Coinbase. And they pay Coinbase for the distribution of their USDC, which means that they make less money, right? And Coinbase actually lands up making money, which, by the way, just shows you that Coinbase is an excellent way to get exposure into stablecoins and crypto trading at the same time, which is why it's one of my favorite shares at the moment. A lot of my net worth is actually sitting in Coinbase. But you know that because I've spoken to you guys about that many times. So on the weekend, a lot of people were asking, what is USDC actually? If USDC is worth $25 billion, what is USDT worth? What is Tether actually worth? this guy, John Ma, actually did a model, and he speaks about Tether being valued at $515 billion. Okay, now he actually breaks it down. He says, look, our model has Circle at $410 billion EBITDA. 410 billion. No, it can't be 410 billion. Okay, in 2025. Okay, wow. Oh, financial-wise, Circle's valued at 410 billion in 2025. Tether claims 13 billion of profits in 2024, which is true. 7 billion came from treasuries. Other 5 billion came from unrealized gains and losses. I'll show you that in a second. So he's saying, look, it could be 515 billion. I think 515 billion for now is a bit rich, but he did model this out. You can go and have a look at him. His name is @John B. Ma. I don't want to spend too much time on the valuation because I think the valuation is quite complicated. But what's very important to ask here is, what is this thing actually worth? Tether's founder, 𝗙𝗏 𝗏𝗏, not the founder, he's the CEO. He says Tether's valuation at 515 billion is a beautiful number, maybe a bit bearish considering our current and increasing Bitcoin and gold treasury. Because remember that Tether are one of the biggest holders of Bitcoin and actually one of the biggest holders of gold. Just listen to this. This was one of the things that he said at Bitcoin 2025.
Space. We represent 62% of all decentralized exchange volumes with USDT. And one of the most beautiful statistics that also is referred to the chart that I was displaying before is that 35% of the users of USDT are using USDT as a saving account, right? Because they live in countries like Turkey, Argentina, Vietnam, where the devaluation of their national currency is so huge that they need to actually, they prefer to use the dollar rather than their national currency, and they use it for saving.
Okay, I just want you to know, whenever I play a video, I don't hear anything. So you just believe what the guy said. But what we know is that they own over 50 tons of gold and they own 100,000 Bitcoin, which actually makes them one of the biggest gold holders and one of the biggest Bitcoin holders in the world. Anyway, let's fast forward a little bit. So we know that this is an incredible company. If they were valued at $1 trillion or $500 billion, just look at which company they'd be with. They'd be in the same company as they would be like, if they were just over $500 billion, that would be the same size as MasterCard. And bear in mind that this company is less than 10 years old, or it's 10 years old or something like that. And you're talking about MasterCard, which is just like this old company, right? Just shows you the valuations that we're talking about and the level of wealth that crypto has actually started to create. Like the level of wealth here is the thing. Someone says 𝗙𝗏 is a giga Chad. That's Richard Saylor. I know Richard. So 𝗙𝗏 is actually a giga Chad. You know that he actually, I'm not sure if he was one of the founders of Bitfinex. He was actually the CTO, and they've actually made him the CEO. And he's a legendary guy. I saw him at the Token 2049. He was a speaker and I was a speaker, and we bumped into each other in the speaker lounge. Actually, I may send him this video just to show him that I spoke nicely of him on the thing. Anyway, so I believe that they're going to be the first $1 trillion company in crypto. Why? Because stablecoins for me is the most exciting application for crypto outside of Bitcoin. And by far, I think it's going to be the most hotly contested space. Just want to show you another thing here. Did you know that Tether actually made twice as much money as Blackrock made? I mean, do you understand what I'm saying to you here? Tether made twice as much money as BlackRock made. Larry Ellison is one of the most, Larry Fink is one of the most influential people in the investment world. And here you have 𝗙𝗏 𝗏𝗏 and Tether, this company that everybody treated like this ugly duckling, like this taboo thing because they wouldn't pass an audit, because they couldn't pass an audit at the time. And now you have this company making double the amount of money that BlackRock is making. In fact, if you look at just their core earnings, $8 billion. That's their core earnings. This is money that they made because the gold and Bitcoin that they were holding went up. This is actual money that they made. Remember how they make their money is when you give them money to print USDT, they got $155 billion. They take that and they invest that in treasuries. And they make 3, 4, 5% a year. And that's basically how they make their money. So anyway, now, moving forward, this is a big company, not only in crypto standards, this is a big company in world standards, like real world business standards. Tether is probably the best success story of a company ever in this. I actually wonder what would be more valuable, Binance or Tether. I think Tether's more valuable than Binance. I would say Tether's. Can you imagine that Tether is actually more valuable than Binance? Can you believe it? That would be like, I mean, that's interesting to think about it. Like Binance is probably worth, I don't know. Researchers, just check for me what Binance is worth. We know 𝗙𝗙𝗎𝗓 or the Abu Dhabi fund bought into Binance. Let's see what valuation they bought on that, right? Anyway, back to the story. So, I mean, just to show you how big this thing is, Tether has 433 million users. 5% of the world population uses Tether. Holy. Yeah, I don't know if you're allowed to say that on YouTube. Anyway, they added 39 million new users in Q1. 39 million users in Q1. They added 8% of their user base in Q1. So not only are they a big company, but they're actually growing like this exponentially. Incredible. USDT would rank 19th in US Treasuries if it were a country, and it's on track to hit $1 billion. This is Charles says that, he says insane in the membrane. This is like, honestly, these numbers are absolutely insane. $13.7 billion in profit, $6 billion for 1 quarter, $113 billion in direct and indirect holdings. That's absolutely, absolutely huge. Anyway, so why are we talking about Tether today? Because up until now, there's been no way for you to get any kind of exposure to Tether's success until now, because now there actually is a way for you to actually, you're not investing directly into Tether, but there is a way for you to get invested in Tether's success. And that's what I actually want to spend some time talking about. If you like that, guys, help me out here. Obliterate the like button, because I'm really, really, really trying hard here. I'm hungry in Fairfax Studio. So what is the opportunity? Believe it or not, Tether are launching their own blockchain, right? Tether are launching, in short, hold on, let's have a look here. Parent company Binance, publicly released valuation, $2 billion. No, man, it's worth way more than $10 billion. And BNB is trading at $95 billion. I still think Tether is worth more. Let me know in the chat can we do a poll in the chat, please, Hardest? I don't know if you can do polls in this software, because it's Fairfair's cheap software. I understand if you can't. Fairfair bought the cheap software. He should have paid an extra $40. He could have got the expensive software, and then he could have done polls, okay? Instead, he bought the cheap mic. He bought the cheap garbage mic. And on top of buying the cheap mic, he bought us the software where we can't do polls. Anyway, but we'll carry on. We'll carry on. Shinobi Brian, I'm telling you, the pain is real here, bro. At the wedding, he also cut budget. We had like, no, I'm kidding. The wedding was phenomenal, bro. Phenomenal. Although he did get married barefoot, right? Yeah. I mean, he could have just paid $50, got himself a pair of shoes, bro. No jokes. The guy got married barefoot. I'm not joking. He did. Fairfair got married barefoot yesterday. I'll send you pictures. I'll post it somewhere on my Twitter. Anyway, so Tether are launching their own blockchain. I kid you not, they are launching their own blockchain. I want to spend some time talking about this blockchain, and you guys may have an opportunity to actually invest in this blockchain. What is this blockchain? This blockchain is actually called Plasma. You can see, what is Plasma? Plasma is a specific blockchain which is built specifically for stablecoins and stablecoin transactions. The thesis behind Plasma is that the current L1s weren't built for stablecoins in mind. They were built for applications in mind, and they weren't built for the rails. When I say the rails, for actual stablecoin payments. They were built for smart contracts. They were built for a whole lot of other things, but not for stablecoin transactions. And so what they did was they built a purpose-built blockchain for stablecoins, which is a very, very, very fast blockchain, has 0 fees for USDT transfers. So basically, if I'm paying you or you paying me or Fairfair, I need to give Fairfair $40. He will get $40. No fees. He can buy new shoes. No fees, bro. No fees. Okay? So it's 0 fees on USDT. let's see if we can, okay. The settlement of this chain is actually on Bitcoin. So it's a side chain on Bitcoin from a technological point of view for the geeks. Let me explain to you how it works, right? It's a side chain. It's an EVM compatible side chain, which settles on Bitcoin. When we settle on Bitcoin, it means that every now and then the blockchain pings Bitcoin for final settlement. It's got 100% EVM compatibility, which is exactly what I said. And it's got very, very, very deep liquidity because they're trying to make this a complete stablecoin chain and not just a USDT chain. And basically, this is going to become the home of USDT. Legacy blockchains limit stablecoin adoption. Most blockchains were designed before stablecoins gained traction or even existed. Today, stablecoins handle over $220 billion of supply and are transferred monthly, making them the biggest crypto use case. However, the activity settles on blockchains with obstacles like high transaction fees, centralization issues, high transaction failure rates, and lack of specialized feature. And that is what Plasma is basically aiming to solve, right? So to bring stablecoins to the next level and unlock trillions of dollars of on-chain blockchains, they're launching this Plasma blockchain. Yes, and you can participate in it. Zero, as I said, I've given you all the features. Settlement on Bitcoin, high throughput, zero fee transactions on USDT, EVM compatible, even though it settles on Bitcoin, and a lot of dedicated stuff. Now, for this blockchain, they actually raised money already. They raised money at a $500 million valuation. They raised $24 million to build this blockchain. And the people that funded this round were Tether, Bitfinex, 𝗙𝗏 in his personal capacity, because remember, he doesn't own Bitfinex and Tether. There's other people that own Bitfinex and Tether. He just is the CEO. And then Peter Thiel. Now, the one thing you know about Peter Thiel is that he's one of the smartest investors in the world. He was the founder of PayPal with Elon. And so he knows money and he knows the problems of money and decentralized money. He's a very early Bitcoin investor. He's a very, very, very early Bitcoin proponent. And he knows about the issues in the monetary system because he was PayPal. He was the founder of PayPal with Elon. One of the best investors out there today in the world. Anyway, they have launched, or they are launching, this blockchain called Plasma. I haven't watched this ad. You can watch it because I can't hear shit. So tell me what it sounds like. Sound good? Exciting?
It's still a latency.
No sound. Okay, there's no sound. Okay, cool. So that means maybe there isn't sound. Maybe it's just a nice graphic. Okay, so now how can you actually participate in this Plasma app? So the participation actually started about 15 minutes before we started the show. And how this happens is they're taking a first round, a second round, and a third round. The first round is already full. It's got filled up like 15 minutes before the show, where they took $250 million of deposits. And you would give them $250 million of deposits. You would lock this $250 million of deposits up, and you would earn points for having it locked up. Whilst your money was locked up, you would be earning yield on Aave, so you'd be earning very competitive yield. People are talking about yield of 15% plus on your stablecoins on Aave, right? So you would be earning this amount of money basically, and at the same time, you would be earning these points which would allow you to participate in the thing. So deposit period, deposit stablecoins into the vault to start earning units. Units determine your allocation in the XPL public sale. Then you have the public sale. Your final units determine your guaranteed option in the XPL public sale. Phase one of this is actually done. They raised $250 million. Everybody tried to get in today. It was almost impossible because you could see the maximum amount that they would let anyone deposit is $50 million. And you can see all these guys in Coinbase actually withdrew $50 million clips so that they could actually invest in this thing. So phase one is actually done. We missed phase one, but there was no chance you could have got into phase one. It just happened too quickly. Even our traders, I asked them to try get into phase one. I put like 5 of our traders in a line and I said, you just press one button, try get in. None of them actually got in. Irishman, did you get in? I don't actually know if you got in. You didn't tell me if you got in today. You didn't tell me if you got in today. Let's just check. I don't know. Anyway, so basically, this launch is done on a platform called Echo. 𝗙𝗏 is the platform that Kobe built for ICOs. You know Kobe, the famous investor, he was an advisor to 𝗙𝗙𝗘𝗥𝗏, great guy. He created this new compliant ICO platform called 𝗙𝗏. And this ICO is happening on 𝗙𝗏. How does it work? You deposit money, you lock up your money, you earn points for locking up your money. Once you've got the points for locking up your money, that will determine how much you can invest in. They've made $100 million available at a $500 million valuation, which means that you're actually buying in at the same valuation that Bitfinex, 𝗙𝗏𝗏, 𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏, and Peter Thiel actually bought in at. So there's $20 million. They're raising $100 million at a $500 million valuation, but you have to lock up your stables, which are going to eventually make their way to the chain. So that is how you can get exposure to USDT. You can partner up with them on a new blockchain, and I really believe that this blockchain is really going to succeed. If you don't get into the sale, well, you know that the blockchain is going to launch, the mainnet's going to launch, and the token is going to become freely tradable and transferable. And when that happens, you may get a second bite at the cherry, right? But I think it's important to understand that there is a lot going on specifically when it comes to stablecoins. Stablecoins are really like the holy grail of crypto. And I mean, if you just think about like where could this blockchain be valued, you'd think like the only other blockchain that is, you could say, dedicated to stablecoins is Tron, because nothing really happens there except stablecoins. Even though Justin Sun wants to make this he wants to make it a meme coin thing. Like the only thing people do on Tron is actually trade stablecoins, right? And you can see that their fully diluted valuation of Tron is $27 billion, which means that you could almost say that like there's no chance that Plasma is not going to be valued at $26.8 billion. So yeah, I think that pay attention to that. I also believe that with the success of Circle and now with the success of Plasma Chain, we're going to get an ICO narrative. We're going to get this like crazy ICO narrative. And you need to pay attention, because I think ICOs and new launches of big companies may actually land up coming back. All right, what else is happening? So yes, ICO seasons may actually be coming back. I know that a lot of you actually took this CoinW promotion that's happening. It ends today. It ends. Okay, they extended it by a week. So you deposit $1,000, you get $1,000, and if you do this on a Banter link, there's a link below. If you do this on a Banter link, we could actually give you another $5,000. So let's just actually look here and see if we can show you guys. You do this on a Banter, so, another $1,000. You go here, CoinW. Just there we go. Deposit $1,000, and then you can still get an extra $5,000, which Johnny didn't put in the thing. He should have put it in here, I think, but he didn't put it in here. We should tell Johnny. Yeah, Frontrunners, remember I gave you a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We called 𝗙𝗘𝗔𝗧𝗨𝗥𝗘𝗥 at $5 million. It's not $1.5 billion. That's 100 extra turns, basically. You could have made that if you were in Frontrunners, but you have to pay Frontrunners. Frontrunners would never let you pay because it's not the cheap option. Bro, the guy got married without shoes. I saw it with my own eyes. $40. He could have. I felt sorry for him. I was going to give him my shoes, but he's so much taller than me. I couldn't give him my shoes because I'm shorter than him and my feet are smaller than his. Anyway, if anybody wants to buy a 𝗙𝗏𝗏 wedding present, he needs shoes. Someone says, I put 1,000. How do I receive the extra? Follow. There's a terms and conditions. Follow all these things. Follow all these things. Okay, there's just go and follow all these things. It's all on that same link. Also, actually, just someone asked me to mention here, and I think it actually is true. If you look at blockchains and you look at blockchains where stable coins are growing, so USDC is growing very fast on Aptos. Now, I don't know if it was, I don't know if it's coming off a low base or if it's just growing fast, but definitely worth investigating that. What is the size of 𝗙𝗏𝗏 shoes? Bro. Big. Okay. I don't know. The guy's got big feet. I was gonna offer him these shoes over here, right? But they're too small. So, like I'm a size 9, 43, 40, whatever you call it, in whichever country. And yeah. Anyway, while we're here, let's degen a little bit. I mean, I'm here in Hungary. We might as well degen. So Bitcoin is has now broken up here. It actually closed above this yesterday. It's now broken above here, which means that the altcoins actually could start moving. I really think that we should be looking at weird, it's just Bitcoin. Even ETH is not really exploding, eh? Like Bitcoin dominance up. If this move sustains for like an extra 2 or 3 days. Bro, do you know where Valhalla is? Because we're about to find out. Valhalla is, we're going straight to Valhalla, straight. One-way ticket to Valhalla. Yeah? And we're not the cheap guys. We pay for the ticket with the meals. They bring us meals. They bring us like a toiletry bag on the way to Valhalla. We don't go the cheap route where you sit at the back, no meals, no nothing. Anyway, listen. I wasn't going to do a show today. I did it. If you appreciate it, obliterate the like button. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. If my plane lands in time and I'm back in the studio, I'll do a show for you guys tomorrow. This week, we've got to cover TAR. We've got to cover base. Run is shorter in length than most men. Bro, how would you know? Oh, you mean tall? No, I'm not the tallest guy in the world. But I'm not the tallest guy in the world, but the rest is all under control. Charles says, awesome show. Charles, good to see you here. Brian, good to see you here, bro. Yeah, it's been a good show, Roger. I agree with you. It's been a good show. There's been this USDT narrative was actually a good narrative. I mean, yeah. I wish we could have got into this round, but there was no way. Even if you had the fastest finger first. No way you could have got in. Anyway, love you guys madly. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.